Welcome to the Chompcast, the podcast that brings the crew of Sword Chomp together to discuss our lives, video games, and everything in between. My name is Morgan Barnes, and I'm joined by my good friends and fellow co-hosts, the crew of Sword Chomp, Joshua Fowler.
Hey, everybody.
Mr. Anthony Fisher.
Hello.
And our good buddy, Shay Layton. Our good buddy, Shay Layton.
Shay's not here, actually.
Fuck. Well, that's a bummer. Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought maybe one of you guys would chirp in and pretend to be, hello.
No, I don't think anybody could step up into the shoes of Shay.
Powerful shoes to fill. Yeah, for our listeners, especially for fans of Shay, I know it's kind of a bummer, as someone who listens to a lot of podcasts, like I'm a big fan of Giant Bomb, and, if Brad or Jeff isn't there or something, I'm like, oh no, things like that. So we've officially hit our stride as being a regular podcast because the show has continued without one of our soldiers. So it is sad. Shay's not here with us this week for our listeners. He is preparing for his move to Japan. And he's tidying some things up, and he's actually coming to stay in my town in Montana for a couple of weeks with family, and he could not make it, and we couldn't find another way to schedule it. So he'll be back next week, probably with more to talk about from his journeys, and he's supposed to make a stop at my house for a gaming event. So Shay's not here, but we miss him, and he will be with us in spirit, right, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Of course.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
What is Shay's spirit, Josh? How would you, if you describe Shay's spirit, how would you describe it?
I think a spirit animal is probably a gecko.
A gecko? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
spirit.
Licking its own eyeball every now and then.
I was gonna say this is a perverted gecko.
Yeah.
One that just can't stop
Just
playing with
looking at
itself.
you all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Judging you.
Those geckos just have a mean stare.
Mm-hmm.
I deal with, some geckos. Whenever I'm delivering pizzas to people's houses, I'll come up there and the geckos, scurry behind a lamp. And I'm just like, oh, God. And, they'll just be looking at you in the darkness, just staring at you, slowly creeping away from you. It's like, oh, God. So I don't agree with that. I don't think Shay's that guy.
He's the outlier. So most people would scurry. But Shay is the one gecko.
He just
that
sits there
keeps
on that
staring.
rock. Just looks
Oh,
at you.
yeah.
And looks at you.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's really you mentioned that fish because I have not seen a lizard in the flesh in probably 15 years. It's so weird. Living in Montana, we just don't have lizards here. They might be. I'm sure there are lizards in Montana. So I don't want to sound ignorant. I'm just saying, everyday life, walking around houses, yard. I have not seen a lizard since I've lived in Montana, which has been, probably 10 years or so. So, but I remember when I lived in Florida when I was a kid. They were everywhere, like you were saying.
Yeah, they like that tropical, humid type of areas, I guess.
They like that heat, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, every house here pretty much has its own residency gecko, because anybody who has a lamp attracts all the moths and bugs, and Texas has lots of moths and these big old June bugs and stuff, and those geckos like to hang around those lamps, and it's an easy meal for them.
Yeah, they just sit around those warm lamps and wait for all this. That gecko life. But yeah, sidetracked. Besides, this isn't a gecko podcast, shockingly. We got a special podcast today, though, as our main topics of discussion are the new Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, which everyone's talking about, and a follow-up on Horizon Zero Dawn, which everyone's talking about. I just like to make every game sound better than it is by just telling you that everyone's talking about it. So that's my trick.
Yeah.
Huh.
Josh is not convinced. We got some interesting news stories today as well, brought ever so apathetically by our beloved fish, including For Honor, the Switch's Dead Pixel situation, and the Pathfinder update for No Man's Sky, because Shay is not here to yell at me for talking about No Man's Sky. So
You might as well let it all pour out.
it's coming.
Get it all out right now.
There's going to be a bonus hour-long podcast after this one that Shay's going to have to edit where we talk about No Man's Sky. So just for you, Shay. Well, that was our big joke before we started. We're like, yeah, we're just gonna talk about No Man's Sky the whole time and piss Shay off, but it's gonna be a great show. Oh, also, I got some really cool comments from the Instagram community in regards to the question of the week, which was inspired by last week's podcast, which was, have you ever played a video game in which, your first impressions of it were just bad, or it rubbed you the wrong way, or you didn't like it, and then you came back to it later and just fell in love with it, or you tried it at a later point in your life and you really connected with it? And I thought that was a cool thing that happened to me, and I thought it made for a great question. So got some really good feedback that we'll mention, so that should be a fun discussion as well. Games that kind of rubbed us the wrong way and then eventually rubbed us the right way. So that should be a lot of fun. But I want to catch up with the crew, see how everyone's week has been, because I love you guys and our listeners want to hear what you've been up to. Some verbal foreplay. Josh.
Yeah.
Hello. My good friend, you are the Switch owner now of the group.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel?
Pretty good. Pretty good. It's mostly a home console for me at the moment. But yeah, I took it out the other day just to try it out and just see how it would work, like in the car and whatnot.
Took it for a walk.
Yeah.
Well, you said the car.
I took it for took it for a ride.
Took it for a roll. Okay.
Yeah, playing some Zelda, and I had an epiphany that the motion controls on a lot of those games are not gonna work if you are playing this thing on a train or the subway or something like that, because anytime you stop or start, it's gonna throw your aim way off. From yeah. Which
that's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's weird. They're that sensitive, huh?
Well, yeah. Which, granted, a lot of people don't even like them, so it's not going to be an issue. But I have been fairly hooked on using the motion controls for like flick aiming for a while now. I got like, I don't know, it's been almost 2 years back. I got a one of the Steam controllers, and that has a really good motion sensor in there as well. So if I'm playing something on the PC and not using mouse and keyboard, I'll often use that thing and then have like the major motions be that right thumb pad, and then like flick aiming be the motion controls, which works great for just like really quick, precise aiming.
Well, I mean, I'm curious though, like, because you're the only person here with a Switch, like, just kind of holding it in your hands. I mean, is it as beautiful as it looked, as you'd hoped it'd be? I mean, what was your impressions of actually holding that thing in your hands?
Were you blown away?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Once like I said, I played it mostly as a console, and it was pretty much just a console at that point. I mean,
that's true. Playing on the TV. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really much special going on there. I mean, it's got basically all the functionality of the Wii U without the touchpad, which it has whenever you're using it in portable mode, but not on the screen. Other than that, it's pretty much the same thing, which is fine because that console gets way more hate than it deserves. But
did you?
Yeah.
Not to be too tangential, because we'll talk about Zelda later, but just in the small doses that you played on the go, do you think Zelda made for a good like portable game?
Pretty good. I think it depends how big of a chunk you have. If it's like really, really short stop and go, the game's just too big to really like pick up and play for like 5 minutes. But for like 20 minutes sort of a thing, you can get a decent amount done.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, because it's
that
such
also,
a vast open game.
Yeah, the sleep mode on the system is very nice. It's essentially you hit that power button, it puts it to sleep, and it's essentially the same as just shutting your DS, your 3DS. It just suspends whatever you're doing right where it was, and then as soon as you open it again, it picks back up. So
that's
whatever
cool.
you're playing, it's gonna, just because of the way the system OS works, it'll allow you to play it in just little bite-sized chunks, which is really nice. Which, yeah, my kid's been playing a lot of Zelda sometimes too, and so like I'll turn it on in the morning, and she'll just do like I normally shut down the software before I stop playing or whatever, but she'll just put the thing in sleep mode and go to bed. So I'll get up in the morning, hit play or turn the system on, and it'll just be right in the middle of her game again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is
cool.
so pretty neat.
That is cool. That is really cool. And did you get a chance to, real quickly, did you play any of the 1-2 Switch with the family or friends or anything yet? Did you try that out?
I did. We played it for, I don't know, half an hour or so. It's not bad. It's essentially, I don't know if you ever played the WarioWare games, any of those. The WarioWare Smooth Moves was the Wii one.
I think I played the very first one that was like Game Boy.
The Game Boy one.
Yeah.
was really cool. It was like just really short mini games all over the place. But I really think the Smooth Moves one on Wii was about as good as that series ever got, just because it used the motion controls to turn that tiny mini game sort of thing into a really fun party game thing, where you just pass the controller around and somebody would play a random game for 10 seconds. And
do you think that this has more like personality? Like, because WarioWare had a lot of weird personality to it. Like, if you compared the two, is 1-2 Switch a little more straightforward, I guess? Like, less quirky?
Exactly. It's like the closest thing they have to that is they have a party mode thing where you just split yourselves into teams, and for a half an hour it will pick random games, and you can swap controllers around or whatever you want, and then at the end of the half hour, whoever has won more games is the winner. So you can kind of split yourselves into teams that way. But yeah, all the games are like head-to-head competition type things, instead of being just like a random single-player thing, which was like you're all taking turns passing the one controller around. Since they have the whole two-controller deal thing here, it's all head-to-head.
That's true. More competitive kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think because of that, because it's not meant to be such micro games, like you're going to play it one time for 10 seconds and then not see it again for the rest of the night, they put more focus into it, and there's only, it's like 27, 28 games that you can play against each other, and they still only take like 30 seconds. But I don't know, like it doesn't have the same charm the other one did. The other one was so ridiculous. I mean, this one's pretty ridiculous. Like, you compete at milking cows and at eating sandwiches. Like,
you mean not as much charm as WarioWare?
As WarioWare, yeah. 1-2 Switch didn't have as much. Like, it was so weird that you could laugh at the game. And this one, it's kind of funny, but because you have two people up there, it's like you're laughing at the people playing it instead of at the game itself, which I think some people are going to like more and some people are going to like less.
Yeah. Well, I think WarioWare has always been a little underappreciated and probably definitely not as mainstream as some of the things like 1-2 Switch will probably end up being, and Wii Sports and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I was curious if you had tried it out and what you thought of it. So,
yeah,
good party game. You have to let us know when you have like a bunch of family over at your house.
Yeah, I've got to try it out in that setting because I've only really played it with a couple people trying it out, and just because of our history with Smooth Moves, it doesn't really compare to that favorably. Which for a lot of people, that comparison is not really something you're going to have.
It's Smooth Moves,
and it's fine. Yeah. It's a fine game. I still feel like it's probably a little overpriced. Like, I feel like for a $20 game, I definitely, like a downloadable $20 game, buy it right away. Like, it's going to be something you're going to want to have just to